final speaker and final activity, which is to share with you all of the wonderful entries for our arts and crafts competition. This was a second novel approach for us, along with the community arts project, and we had no idea what the response would be. I'm pleased to say we have been delighted and amazed by all the entries and are so excited to announce the winners. So I'm going to hand over to Olivia Nelson, who will take us through the competition. Olivia has worked in the conservation sector for nearly 20 years, but mostly with the National Trust, then returning to policy work to work at the Organic Research Centre. And she now works for us, the Floodplain Meadows Partnership, where she acts as our advocacy officer. And she has been responsible for running the arts and crafts competition, so it's only fitting that she gets to tell you all about it. So I'm going to hand over, Olivia. Off you go.
Thank you very much. I'm hoping this will work. It was really lovely to be able to work on this and not just be looking at policy development and advocacy. So thank you. It's been a real treat. This is just a short presentation. It's to showcase all these amazing creative efforts from everybody who submitted an entry. And actually just hearing Claire speak there and showing some of the gorgeous art that went on, then it's a good follow on with other people also responded. So the arts competition, we were meant to launch it last year, but obviously COVID put a stop to that. So we did it this year, and actually, although COVID was an absolute nightmare, what came through very powerfully was people's connection with nature. And actually, this art competition came from a conversation through our steering group and others about how do you engage people with art with nature and using art and creative means of doing that. And that's where we sort of came from with this. The competition was actually funded by the Morgan Family Bursary Fund and the William Dean Countryside and Educational Trust, so we do thank them. It invited all types of artists and crafters, basically to help us raise awareness about floodplain meadows, to engage them, and to help us tell a story in a sort of different way, beyond sort of advocacy speak, about how they can be part of sort of natural climate solutions. Let's see if this works. Oh, am I working? There we go. Can we see the next one which says themes? If someone could just put a thumbs up.
Yeah, we're fine, Claire.
Awesome,
Olivia,
thank you.
sorry.
So the aim of this competition, it was to raise awareness of floodplain meadows and help us be able to instigate a call to action for government to protect them and recognise the role they play as part of some natural climate solutions. We launched it in April and we closed it end of August, so to get peak time, and we set a brief. So we asked people to visit a meadow if they could, and we gave them the meadow map on the Floodplain Meadows Partnership website, and then we gave them 4 themes, which you can see there on the screen. The role of floodplain meadows in managing climate change, the importance of floodplain meadows for nature, how floodplain meadows contribute to a sustainable agricultural system, and then the last one about how we let floodplains, how it helps with letting rivers flood and with flooding management. I have to say, like Emma, we were absolutely overwhelmed by the response we got. It really showed how much people care and how much they feel about the beauty of meadows. And actually, one impression I got was how often people were surprised by the pleasure they found of being in a meadow. So I'm going to go through just a few examples of who applied and who came in. I mean, we got entries from far as Bangladesh, and this one celebrates the floodplains of Ariel Beale. We then had from Russia, and this one is an example, I hope I say this right, of mezen art, which is an ancient ornamental art. We had a range of different people who sort of came in. We have this one here, and this is from a team. This is a guy called Nick Mayer and Stella Davis. It's called Creatures of Fox Earth, and Nick has learning disabilities, and Stella is his art teacher and has been for 5 years, and she helps him with his art, so he directs it. And they were again very inspired by how the meadows, sort of the creatures that you can find in the meadows. We also had the OU Stitch Group. They came and they also gave us their impressions of floodplain meadows, and those blue skies are actually, they are leftover face masks that have been found littering the meadows. So a little message there about the sort of the litter that we can find. And then just the sheer range of ways that people have presented their responses and how they want to tell the story. Everything from embroidery, bag making, to this is some embroidery by Jean McIndry, which was one we really loved, about the snails that she found, the freshwater snails she found on the meadows. Photography was another very strong one, so I'm just going to just sort out my headphones because they're falling off. Fritillaries did come through as a really strong theme. Glass making, this is by Hazel Crane, known as buttercups. We had lots of different forms of painting of watercolours. I think this one's by Emily Terry, and another one by David Hugh Lockett, and a lot of poetry came through as well. I think we've already shown this one, the Drowner Song from the Water Meadow. So just a wonderful range. And then in terms of the actual themes that came through, as I said, fritillaries, there seemed to be a very strong design that came through. A lot of them were used to sort of tell the story about the biodiversity. And these are just 3 examples which came through, and obviously you've seen the photographs as well. Also the role of meadows in agriculture, that was another theme that came through. So a couple here, we did love this one. And I've already used it on Twitter, and I'm sure we will use others. And again, all of these images we can use in different ways. This one came through, it was a great image of the role of them, the story of flooding. It's a very powerful image. So thank you to everybody who came through. We're really sorry we could only choose 12. So 12 winners we chose for the calendar. It took the and I have to say I was one of the judging panel, but it did take us hours to deliberate over, and it was about 100 entries we had from across the UK and internationally. And we all would agree that the imagination and the creativity of those who entered was absolutely outstanding. And Judith Purcell, who represents the Morgan Family Bursary Fund, did say, I'll have to read a statement out, basically, thank goodness I wasn't a judge. I would have given them all first prize. And I was amazed at the imagination and skill, and just let alone the interpretation of the subject. So basically, well done. And we would like to also repeat that. Thank you and well done. So the winners, that starry, the winners of, we chose 12 winners, and this is to make a calendar for 2022, which we will be producing and will be available in November. And I think we're in conversation about it going for the OU shop. So we chose 12 winners, and then there were 2 sort of outstanding winners. And the Field Studies Council very, very kindly donated a £250 voucher. And then Andy Rumming, and thank you very much to Andy. He's also donated a beautiful hamper of his meadow produce. So we have also picked 2 winners for sort of overall as well. And again, that took us a while to choose that. We got 2 children who applied, who put something in. They had visited a meadow, and we wanted to give a special children's award to LIZZIE and Tommy Smith Badger. They went with their mum and dad to a floodplain meadow in Milton Keynes, and it was just, they're both just lovely. Tommy's 2.5 and Lizzie's 4.5, and actually the Wildlife Trust have very kindly donated a bug hotel. So thank you very much, and well done to Lizzie and Tommy. And I spoke to their dad, and he's absolutely delighted on their behalf. So we are now, yes, exactly, applause. So now I'd like to go through the winners. I can't do a drum roll. If I could, I would. But so the first one we had is Vicky Bowskill. Vicky did this wonderful poem, Forever Meadow. And I can't play it, but when we do the link to the winners, Vicky's actually done a recording, and it's the most soothing telling of a poem. It really is, it's beautifully done. This was, it basically celebrates the full story of floodplain meadows, and it shows the importance of flooding and haymaking to the natural bounty. Now, what I also want to say at this point as well is we asked people to put a little statement in about what their art was, and we found that very useful. And actually, when you do go and have a look at the artists, which we'll have on the Flickr page, and read also their statement, because a lot of them were they really added actually to the story. Next winner we have is Leslie COWLEY. It's beautiful, beautiful glass making, and we couldn't choose between either of them, so we chose both. And it's a beautiful climate solution and a piece of work on the right called River. And these are blown glass. Leslie is or you can see her own website. She actually makes glass and sells it. And this was inspired by the North Meadow and the Toulouse on the North Meadow, and also the influence on meadows from the river. So that, as I think Claire was talking about, the sort of the ripples and the movement of the river. So thank you very much, Leslie. The next one is Jeff Coles, who gave us a poem called Time, Cycle, Repeat. And this one came through from a visit to Longmead, and he actually used words from information handouts, and it was to talk about the sort of yearly cycle of the meadow. And we loved the poem, and we also loved the way it was presented as well. Now this one has got a little film with it as well, and this was also Longmead. This is Jill Colchester, who this is a kaleidoscope she made. Which was a really clever way of illustrating, and she says the cyclical nature of meadows and the role of yellow rattle as a parasitic plant, and the importance of great bonnet in carbon capture. And if I go on to the next one, okay, let's make this play, Amy. If I want this to play, how do I make that work?
You just press on the play button. There you go.
There you go. Very soothing. I think another one alongside Vicky you could use to calm yourself. So thank you very much, Joe. That's brilliant. The next winner we have is, again, it's Longmead. Longmead must take out a copyright on their landscape and their habitat. It's honestly influenced so many different artists in the entrance. But this is Julie Loken's work, which is gorgeous. And she said in her statement that she spent many, many hours trying to get this right and to try and represent all the different species, and both plants and sort of insects. And you can tell it's just lovely. It definitely was one of our favourites. The next work, I don't know if I'll be able to do this justice, but this is Mark Oversby, and this is titled Restoration Walk Number 7. Mark is a photographer and has done a few photography projects, and I'm going to have to try and read this out, but he basically began to experiment with long exposures. So what he would do, he was walking out in the meadow, and he was then exposing 97 seconds, and that was to represent the percentage of loss of meadows. And then using an old analog flash gun, he would use up to 40 bursts of light during the exposure. And that was to reflect the number of wildflower species that can be found in 1 meter square of meadow. So actually, for us, reading that statement really helped. But again, it was an unusual way of showing the meadows in a sort of light that perhaps you don't normally see. But thank you very much, Mark. The next one is a poem. I'll leave it up for a little bit. I won't try and read it. But this is Studying Meadows in Latin. And this is actually, it's described as the Latin names of plants often reflects their most important characteristics, and this allows people to distinguish between plant species, but also shows about what their diversity is and also what their importance of they are for humans. I'll leave it up just a little bit, just so you can actually get a chance to read it. This is one of our favourite poems. Okay. You're right, C. Roberts, they are absolutely fabulous. We were so lucky to go through them. It was such a nice way of spending some of my work time. Right, next one. This is another poem, but also an image. This is MATTHIAS HARNISCH, and this actually came from, I think, from Germany. This was inspired by the Northern Upper Rhine, I hope I say this right, in Reichstadt. He has worked with the Floodplain Meadows Partnership, and I think they've had trips there, if that's right, Emma, which I've not been able to, but they've gone and actually visited these. But again, just the poem and the images were very strong. Again, I'll leave a little bit of time just so you can have a read. And the next one, again, this one really shows the way that people have approached this in such creative ways. This is by NIKI Kent, and we chose all three of her entries, meadow grasses. And actually what Niki's done here is she has visited a meadow, I think this was Tewkesbury Nature Reserve, and she took some of the grass and wildflower species and then pressed them and then printed them through an etching press. And again, we just thought it was just a really beautiful way of showing the sort of the biodiversity and the value to nature that meadows have. Then we have another poem, and this one is a haiku. This is by Sarah Caulfield, and this was inspired by Runnymede, which, as you know, was where the Magna Carta was sealed. And she said that they visited Runnymede quite a lot last year, and it was a really important place for them. If you don't know Runnymede, it's quite an overdeveloped part of the world. So again, it was sort of her reaction to the meadow. And of course, we also really liked the way it was presented, which will look beautiful on the calendar. Then we come to our two overall winners. And I've recognised, I've seen her name come up quite a lot in chat, but this is Claire Cornish. I spelled that with an I, I shouldn't have done. This is Season's Song, and we absolutely loved this. Just for it's using glass, but just its intricacy and the designs, which represent sort of many of the grasses and flowers found in the floodplain meadows, and the way it sort of talks about the sustainable cycle of floods and silts and drought that allow meadows to flourish. We just thought it was just beautiful, detailed, and a lovely strong message. And I hope this is right, the way it goes is cherish the winter floods that nourish our summer hay. Yeah, this was great. Thank you, Claire. This is lovely. And this one will win Andy Rumin's hamper. I think Claire was delighted about that, so I'm really pleased. It's very nice to be able to email, say well done. And then finally, and this will the winner for the Field Studies Council is Alice Walker. And thank you. This is also Longmead, and I think it was actually Alice who brought her team of artists who came along to the Longmead. But this is great. We chose all three because it really tells the story, and it portrays this sort of delicate balance that floodplains face and the future, the destructive future if they aren't urgently protected. And it uses just a variety of materials and techniques and demonstrates the rich biodiversity and the agriculture use, but also importantly highlights how time is running out. This very unique habitat. And this is beautiful, and it's just a textual, the different ways she's sort of shown it. And so thank you very much, Alice. That's yeah, we were really pleased to be able to award you that. So well done. We do have two little video recordings of the two winners of Claire's and Alice. Also, just to say, we are hoping to put an online exhibition up of all the entrants, but also we are trying to arrange something for next year, for next summer, an actual physical exhibition. And so we can actually then, people can actually come and visit, and I think some of these artworks, you know, just be able to have that face-to-face view as well. But thank you to everyone who entered. Well done to all those who won. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to go through them.
Olivia, if
Yes.
everybody unmutes themselves, because you do now have control to do that, we could do a live clap.
Yes.
So if everybody could unmute themselves.
Oh, well done, guys. I have to say that we were desperate to choose the soundscape. We couldn't put it onto a calendar because we could put it on a calendar. So, but we will be using that, and I see how popular that one has already been. But all these bits of artwork, I'm sure we can find some way to bring them in. So thank you. Amy, do you want to show the two little recordings that we made that were done by the Alice and Claire?
Yeah, we'll start with Claire's.
I'm going to turn myself off.
I was inspired to take part in the competition because I know some beautiful meadows in Great Musgrave in Cumbria, which are floodplain meadows. And the owner, John, has worked so hard to enhance them. The one original beautiful flowery meadow is absolutely gorgeous. And what he's done is taken seed from there and used it to seed surrounding parcels, so that the area of flowery floodplain meadow has increased hugely, and it's really down to his dedication and interest. The meadows are also used really well by waders. They are full of curlews and oyster catchers and lapwings, and it's just a beautiful place to be. It must be one of the best floodplain meadows in the county. Standing in the meadow in early summer while the sward is growing, smelling the cucumbery smell of the great burnet and listening to the waders is just magical. I entered the competition really because I just wanted to be part of what the Floodplain Meadows project does in promoting this special habitat, how beautiful they are, but also how topical they are today. Little is known about this habitat in the wider population, and they're not only beautiful in their own right, but vital in many ways going forward in the climate emergency for their role with floodwater storage and sustainable farming. I just thought a competition like this is an imaginative way of capturing people's creative response to a beautiful habitat and sharing it.
Thanks, Claire.
Hello, my name's Alice Walker, and I'm an artist and art teacher based in Oxfordshire, England. I work in oils, watercolours, collage, pencil, print and digital media. I've always had a deep love of being in nature and responding to it creatively. Last July, I was fortunate enough to take my art students out sketching in Longmead Meadow on the banks of the Thames, just west of Oxford. It was there that I discovered the amazing story of Britain's floodplain meadows and their importance today as a valuable source of hay, a carbon store, and a vital habitat for a multitude of species. I was shocked to find out that barely 3% of these meadows remain in Britain, but inspired by restoration projects like Longmead that are boldly working to improve this for future generations. The meadow was ablaze with colour and activity when we visited it, a rich tapestry of grasses and wildflowers, home to an abundance of birds, bees, butterflies and invertebrates. But despite this riot of wildlife, it was an oasis of calm and inspiration. When I heard about the Floodplain Meadows Partnership Art Competition, I was excited about the potential of art to respond to the challenge of raising awareness of these amazing habitats. Artist Edward Degas famously said, "Art is not what you see, but what you make others see." On one level, my task was easy, as these meadows are naturally stunning, and art that draws our attention to the beauty and wonder of the natural world can bring us joy, remind us of its value and need for protection. But it was also important that the art should amplify the message that these vital floodplain meadows are still under threat from agricultural practices, housing and road development, and even flood defence measures. So my artwork for the competition was inspired by a desire to help others discover, love, and act to protect these precious places. I'm really thrilled that my artwork has been selected to win this competition. I'm particularly excited to think that it's going to be used to raise awareness and promote the message of this brilliant organisation. Thanks very much.
Well, I'm not sure what to say now. Really, all that it's very. I find it very moving, actually. The way that the artwork makes me feel, and the explanations from the artists about why they did what they did. And I'm so pleased we did this competition, and I'd like to do it all over again next year. Is that all right, Olivia? Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Well, I'm really sorry to say, actually, that that's the end of our programme for this year. I really hope you found something in the sessions of value. There is always more to say than we have time for, so I make no apologies for trying to squeeze a lot in, but I'm very grateful that you gave up your time to join us. We are planning a face-to-face conference next year, so please do come back and enjoy more debate and time for discussion when we can actually see each other. Before I finish, I would like to thank very much our speakers, our chairs, and the team monitoring the chat. Thank you. And I would particularly like to thank Babette, Amy and Hazel from the OU Events and Comms team for dealing with all of the IT issues, the last minute problems, and steering us through the myriad issues around delivering a conference online. Thank you. I think you've probably worked out by now there's bottles of wine on the way. So finally, to wrap up, I just want to highlight probably 3 key points that have arisen over the last 3 days to leave you with. Firstly, carbon. The role of floodplain meadow and related diverse grasslands as a potential store for atmospheric carbon needs to be more widely appreciated. Secondly, floodplain. The need for floodplains to be viewed as a distinct landscape type in all relevant mapping exercises, target setting and funding schemes. A restoration target specifically for floodplain meadows would flow from this. Thirdly, meadows need management and they need to remain within commercial enterprises. The premium value of their produce should be advertised and support is needed to reflect their public benefits. And finally, art and creativity. Exploring how important these sites are through artistic interpretation is massive, has massive potential, both to engage with people, with the habitat, and to promote messages about the habitat. So that's probably where I want to wrap up, actually. Finally, we're going to leave you with a slide created during this conference by one of our very creative PhD students, VICKY BOWSKILL, who has been busy doodling a cartoon of the conference. It's focused on the soil carbon discussion, so I'm going to leave you with her thoughts on this slide, hopefully played out to another hearing of the soundscape, Dawn Chorus at Wellsbury Kings by Simon Elliott. I hope that inspires you to go and help do what you can for floodplain meadows. Thank you very much.